Hello there, and time for another video tutorial, and I'm pretty excited for this one. It's a really pretty easy way to create a building. Well, not actually the entire building, but a big chunk of it. And it's also will create a setup that we can modify to create several parts of a building. So you see we have the default scene. I'll right click the lamp to delete it and hit delete, and I'll quickly input some values for the camera here, just so we'll be having a good view of the building. You'll see in a while. Just wait for a second. And 45 here. Okay, so the camera is pointing at the right direction, and we'll only be using the cube, the default cube here. Right click to select it, and I'll hit 7 on my keypad to switch to top perspective view, and I'll hit the G key to grab the cube and move it at about here. I'm moving it -8 on the x-axis and -8 on the y-axis. Okay, now our cube is in place. We'll add an array modifier, and we really do want the relative offset and 1. It's nice as it is for the moment, and I'll add a count amount of 9. Now time for another array, and we'll also bring the count up to 9, but this time around we'll change the relative offset to 1 for the y-axis. So this is what we get. I'm going to collapse the array modifiers, and I'll now add a build modifier. Now we've seen the build modifier before, and I'm using the build modifier a lot. So good thing about this setup right here is that the build modifier is applied to both the arrays. So now if I hit the right arrow on my keyboard, you can see that the build modifier is building the mesh as the time goes by. So we have a start amount of 1 and a length of 100. I think it's good for our scene right here, but I'll also click randomize. So by clicking randomize, you see what we have. We have this one. It looks pretty nice. I'll just move some frames up. Let's move up at about frame 30, let's say. And you can see that it already looks pretty interesting. Now it's time for another modifier, and I'm going to add another array. And this time around, the relative offset will be set to 1 for the z-axis. Okay, I'll zoom out a bit. And if we now increase the count for the bottom array modifier, you see what we got. Now this looks pretty interesting, and it could be the base for a building. And as you can see, we have a nice amount of faces, so you can also use it for games. And trust me, we can even bring the face count and the vertex count uh, even even lower, and The good thing about this setup is that if I move right here over at the build modifier and change the seed for the randomize, you can see, and I hope that you can clearly see it, that we get you could say a brand new building, a brand new design for the building. So let's see this one, it looks pretty interesting, and we can change the look of the building by changing the seed, but we can also change the timeline, the time here for the animation, and as we move to the right, as the build modifier moves on, it adds more geometry to the object, so we can move just a bit. You can see some parts moving in, and I think it's good at about here. I have a shadow 6 and I'm at frame 42, and I like it as it is. I'll change the blender render to the cycles render, and I'll hit Shift A to add mesh a plane. Now 1 on my mirror keypad and 5 to switch to front ortho view. I'll scroll my mouse wheel to zoom in a bit. I'll hit the G key to grab and the Z key to constrain movement on the Z axis, and I'll move my plane down. You can see it right here. I'll hit the S key and scale it up. You want this one to be big. I'll bring it at 50. Now 0 on my mirror keypad, switch to camera perspective view, and I think I'll add I'll increase the count value for the bottom array, and you can see that I easily make a taller building by increasing the count value here. And this is nice. I've changed the renderer to cycles, and I'll click use nodes here and set the background color to white, and I'll set the strength, let's say to 2, and I'll also right click the building is already selected, and I'll add a material to it. Let's make it green. Okay, just so we'll take a quick peek. Let's go over here at the render settings, and I'll change some settings for the integrator, and I'll just change the amount of samples for render to 200. Now in order to see the material on our building, we can go over here at the material settings and click settings and change the viewport color. Click the color to change it. Let's get the sampler, the color picker, and I'm choosing the color from the actual material, so it now is applied to our viewport. Now let's render an image. It won't take long, and I think I'll hit the escape key that the world strength is way too high. Let's set it to 1.2, and I'm hitting F12 to render again. And as you can see, it also renders pretty fast. We don't have any reflections or anything for now. I'll bring down the bottom array a bit, and as you can see here, we do also have some sort of structure in it, because okay, so I've restricted visibility for the bottom modifier, for the bottom array here, and as you can see, we have some sort of, our building even looks like it has rooms and stuff like that. So if you set it to a transparent material and it will also look nice. But while this is pretty good, we'll try to make it even better. I'll hit the Tab key to switch to edit mode and hit the Z key for the wireframe mode, and I'll hit Control Tab, and from the mesh select mode I'll click face, and I'll right click the upper and the bottom faces to select them. You can see them right here, and this is the initial cube, the cube that it is used for the arrays and also affected by the build modifier. And I'm going to move over here at the materials. I'm going to hit the plus here to add a second material to the same object, and I'll click new. I'm going to leave the color at white. I think it's good as it is, and I'm going to click assign. Now tab key to go back to object mode, Z for the solid view, and 0 on my numeric keypad to switch to camera perspective view. And let's render this one. And it looks pretty nice. What we've done, we have a white arrow on the roof and floor of the building, and you can also, and it's pretty easy to figure out and to guess this move, to apply a solidify modifier. And while the solidify modifier will bring your vertex and faces count up, if you want to use your building and move closer to it, you'll see that the solidify modifier adds a bit of detail, and it's good. Now I'll render another image just to take a peek. Okay, it looks nice. And what's important is that you can always change the build modifier and get a totally different look for your building. And then again change the frames just to add even more detail. And let's say we like it at about here. And let's move even further on. I'll hit Shift D to copy the entire set, the entire building, and I'll right click to cancel any movement for the new object. And what I'm going to do is apply the modifiers for this one. And remember, we're working with the copy right now, and I'm going to apply the first array, the second array, and what I'm going to do is delete the build modifier for this one, so you see what we get. And I'll apply the third array for the height, and I'll also delete the solidify modifier. So we've only applied the arrays, and we've disabled and deleted the build modifier and the solidify. Now I'll hit 7 on my numeric keypad to switch to top ortho view, and hit the del key to frame the building, and I'll hit tab to move to edit mode, and control tab to change the mesh select mode to change it to vertex. Now I'll hit the A key to deselect all. I think I also have yes to click this one, 7 again, and I'll hit the B key and select those. Oh, wait a minute. A key to deselect all, B, and select those vertices right here. I hit the delete key to delete them. Now as you can see, this right here is the part we're working on, and it's pretty easy to figure out what I'm going to do next. I'll hit the A key to select every vertex. Let's first remove doubles, and I think we removed all these vertices. And now I'll click right here and shrink, fatten the mesh, and I think we're good at about there. It works pretty nice at about 0.2, to be specific, minus 0.2, and that's because we're shrinking the mesh. Okay, now tab key for this one, and I'm going to change the materials. I'll delete those two and add a new material for this one, and I'm going to change it to glass. Now I'll change the index of refraction to 1.3, hit 0 on my numeric keypad, switch to camera perspective view, and I'll render a new image. So as you can see, this one looks pretty nice. We have the windows, we have the floor and the ceiling colored differently, and I think it looks pretty nice. And as always, you can select your building, move to the modifier panel. We haven't applied the modifiers for this one. You can always change the seed and get a totally different building. I'm going to render this one. So this is it. I just found out about it yesterday and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I'm recording this one on the fly, just so you can see it and create your own stuff using this video tutorial. And I'll hit 7 on my main keypad, and I'll show you just one more thing, and it has to do with the fact that the build modifier is always active for this one. So if we want to create an animation, we'll find out that the build modifier works as time changes. So excuse me, when you're pretty sure your building is the one you really want, and I'm just going to change the seed a bit and move the frames down. Let's create an interesting building. Okay, and once you're sure about it, you can apply the modifiers for this one as well. Don't forget, this time around we'll apply the build modifier and not delete it. And if you want to keep the solidify modifier, apply it. If you want to get rid of the solidify modifier, just delete it by clicking this X right here. For now, I'll hit apply. I'll hit 7 on my numeric keypad and bring my building here so I can see it, and hit the tab key. And we can see how our building looks now in edit mode, and I'll hit the A key to deselect all, and I'll hit the B key just to select, I think, select those. No, hit the A key again to deselect, and I think we'll select those right here, and I'll hit delete to delete vertices. And I'm deleting them just because I don't think will be using those. And again, if you want to use a transparent material for the whole building, or if you want to build some basic interior for it, you could easily build some tiny furniture and stuff like that, and it would look great. And now tab key again, and as you can see, we have a building that has those faces. And now that the modifiers are applied for this one, if we hit the tab key and hit the A key to select all and click remove doubles, you'll see that we've removed 8,590 vertices. Now tab key to go back to object mode, and you can see that we have a pretty nice detailed building for, well, not the entire building, but a big chunk of it, for 13,000 faces, and it's pretty nice. I think if you work with this technique a bit, you could easily create a bunch of buildings for your scenes or games and stuff like that. And I really think it's a nice technique. Feel free to experiment with it. And again, we can take it even further. I'll hit the escape key. I like the building as it is. We can even take it further by selecting this building and then hitting Ctrl Tab to switch to face. And I'll hit the A key to deselect all. And what I'm also going to do is hit the Tab key, select the glass, the windows object here, and I'll move here and change the display type from texture to wire, so that it's not blocking our view of the building. And I'll now select the building, hit the tab key, and as you can see, now we can easily create all sorts of stuff here. We can create some balconies here, and I'm clicking these faces to select them. And I'll now hit the E key to extrude at about there. Okay, let's make them slightly bigger at about there. And tab key, and you can modify it. Now that it is a mesh object, you can modify it as much as you want. So that's the video tutorial. You can see that you can easily create a large amount of different buildings. It's pretty easy, and hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.